Hello fantasy fans, and welcome back to Thursday Night SmackDown. As always, we'd like to thank our sponsors.
Jameson Whiskey, the highest caliber whiskey for the higher caliber man.
And Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Scoregasm, everybody knows that.
Well, did you know there's still a chance for Mole to make it into the top 4?
No, I did not.
Yes, there is. Let's look at the recaps of last week.
Definitely, we want to start out with Week 11, Game of the Week. This was a real nail-biter all the way down to Monday night.
Absolutely. King of the Coonasses versus Commissioner Jablomi.
This was just such a close game. You know, we're talking about a half-point difference. It's really a sad story that you've got to have a winner and you've got to have a loser here in football nowadays. And Coonasses just couldn't do it. He couldn't come out the end. He just didn't have that performance Monday night that was necessary.
You're absolutely right. You know, the Commissioner pulls ahead by a half a week. But let's talk about what it was in that Monday night game that actually put the Commissioner over the top by that half a point.
Well, I'd have to say, I think everybody would have to say, Antonio Brown coming out that wide receiver with 19.5 points, on top of having Le'Veon Bell also scoring 20-some-odd points. It's just not a common thing you see. What do you say had to do with that? How did the Commissioner pull that off?
Well, you know, I heard through the wires that the Commissioner actually had to sit down face-to-face with Antonio Brown.
We've heard the same thing in our sources.
He's well involved with his players. I believe he actually had Antonio Brown over at his house, if I'm not mistaken, sat him down in the living room, said, look, I picked you up, I had faith in you. It's now or never that you're going to perform. And, apparently it was now and not never. So the Commissioner, excellent pep talk he gave Antonio Brown.
It must be the rapport that the Commissioner is known for. Under his college when he was an All-American, All-Star, with Nick Saban as well as with Les Miles. I don't think he got his tactics from Saban, but he definitely got a lot from Les Miles where he understood this is how you deal with players, especially in the NFL. He's got to have that ability, and he did. Again, we saw Antonio Brown come out with that W for the Commissioner. It was a great game.
Absolutely it was. Now let's look into the next matchup for the week.
Definitely. Let's go into, again, we were talking about Le'Veon Bell. Let's look at the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the Scoregasm Beats by Ray. What happened?
It was, I want to congratulate you on your win, first of all.
I appreciate that.
You put up good enough points to where you would have beaten 5 of the 7 possible competitors this week, so I commend you for that. This week, my team really, it just wasn't clicking. We weren't firing on all cylinders.
And projected, you had some high projections going into it. It looked like you had an opportunity. I felt good about my squad. Again, every week I like to sit down with these players and say, hey, look, as an owner, I have an investment in you, and I need you to perform for me, and I'm going to take care of you in the long term. I feel my players have really responded to that. And again, we came out with that W this week. It wasn't quite enough to come out of that loser's bracket. Again, with the Commissioner Jablomi upset, that half point kept him in that bracket, which is why every week is so crucial. Like we just discussed, I had the opportunity, I would have been able to beat 5 of my other 7 competitors, but I wasn't playing those competitors this week, and it's a week-by-week,
it absolutely is.
match.
It absolutely is. The Commissioner, or even the King of the Coonasses, he suffered the half-point loss. Yeah. He could have beat 3 of the 5. Possible.
He just had a tough weekend, and it was what it was.
It was, most definitely. But kudos to you. Excellent performance from Le'Veon Bell going into the Monday night game. I know you got a little nervous when Sean Shisham for Pittsburgh kicks a 40-yard field goal to start the game off,
early
and then Bishop Sankey runs it in for a touchdown.
Correct. We were looking at this. We had a good lead ahead
in the first 4 minutes of the game.
Correct. But luckily, like we said, Le'Veon Bell had a stellar performance.
He absolutely did. I commend you for your victory, sir.
Well, thank you again for that. Let's look at our high-scoring game of the week, which we knew this was going to be. Hashtag WTF. Tell me what happened.
This game reminds me of the Muhammad Ali-George Foreman fight.
Oh,
2 sluggers just going blow for blow all the way to the last round. And, WTF was the Ali of this fight. He just pulled it off in the last round. He snuck ahead by, 9 points to get the victory.
Exactly. You hate to see a loss like that for Hotshot. We've talked from the beginning of the program. Hotshot is definitely a contender for that prize money. He's definitely going to end up in that top category. Again, 130 points, would have beaten every other fantasy owner this week, but he wasn't playing every other. He was playing WTF, who is our reigning champ right now, at least for the projected for this week.
Yes, absolutely. Now let's look at the Mollberg Comeback King, or El Rey Montada for the Spanish-speaking people, or the Americans Comeback King.
Definitely. We projected this early on in Thursday Night SmackDown that we were going to see Comeback come out with a large victory here. Again, he had about a 30-point gap in between the two. Mollberg did what Mollberg does best, and I hate to say it, folks, but it's lose. He just can't get his act together.
He is terrible.
He really is. You know, we had
And I'm terrible, and I'm calling him terrible, so he's really terrible.
Well, you know, one of the biggest things is we had 75.5-point performance, and I'm not sure his exact numbers on the bench. What did his bench end up putting up this week?
Well, like you said, his 10 starters put up 75.5 points. There's only 6 slots on the bench.
Okay.
76 points on the bench.
Unbelievable. Okay, typical Moberg.
Yeah, it's not that the caliber of players weren't there. It's that they just weren't playing.
Well, you know, Moberg's in a lot of trouble. He's got to look at some trades. You know, on that waiver wire, his running back situation is atrocious. He's got to get some good numbers in this league, especially. Running back is a powerhouse.
Absolutely, and to be honest with you, there's just not many running backs left in the league.
There's not.
You know, there's some hoarding going on for sure with the 6 running back cap per team. You know.
Well, you definitely see hoarding on that, you know, especially having the double flex position. You can put in so many.
Which is a great strategy.
It is, but I'm going to tell you, Moberg took the bet. He took the long shot on, I'm going to hoard the quarterbacks. It just hasn't played out for him. Now's the time, when you've got some injured quarterbacks out there, to start with these trades. Get out there, try and get a running back, pick up somebody who is a great pickup. Maybe not a Jamal Charles out there, but definitely not a Nile Davis either.
Absolutely. You know, you have a couple extra quarterbacks. You know, Drew Brees has been lacking in performance.
Yes.
He's still a great quarterback. You know, you've got the commissioner Jablomi that's been having some quarterback woes this season.
Definitely has.
You know, I would try to barter a trade with the commissioner if I was Mole to try to get a running back.
I definitely would, and I would be shocked if we didn't see that come through this week. Well, let's look at this week's projections. Let's look at let's start out with bottom of the barrel play. Who do you see that being this week?
Bottom of the barrel. Well, you're on bye week this week, or playing Mole, however you want to look at it. So let's go ahead and get that one out the way.
Definitely. Again, we've talked about Moberg's inability to get his act together. Again, he's just not getting that face time with his players. Beats, we seem to be on an upswing. Again, we had a loss from Moberg early in the season, so it's definitely anybody's game. You hate to see somebody that's that high up on the waiver wire. He may not, again, be able to pick up that running back, but he may be able to pick up something that somebody else needs and force that trade opportunity. But again, I don't see him breaking 80 points. I see us putting up, again, that 110, 115 that kind of gets you the win every week.
Absolutely.
I think that's what we're going to see.
I'm going to go ahead and make my pick. It's Beats by Ray this week for sure.
I think that's what the viewers expect.
You know, anybody in America that picks otherwise, except for Mole, is just dumb.
Absolutely.
Just dumb. But you know, Mole, he picked up Kendall Wright this week.
He did. Wide receiver out of Tennessee.
Out of Tennessee. They're playing the Philadelphia Eagles this week. You know, and I see Philadelphia as the better team in this matchup, getting ahead. And
oh, no question.
Tennessee's absolutely going to have to throw the ball if they want to stay in the game, and Kendall Wright is their go-to man. So
that's right.
That was actually a very intelligent pickup by Mulberg.
I think it was. Again, you're not going to see that Bishop Sankey run game. You're going to have to see that aerial assault. Mark Sanchez has found a way to get his act together, pull Philadelphia together.
Who'd have thought it? He's got a trophy named after him, and it's not a good one.
No, not at all. But again, I just don't see Mulberg pulling it off this week. Maybe with a few more weeks in that bottom, getting that top waiver choice, looking at those trades, that can definitely happen. Well, tell me, how do you feel about the WTF Commissioner Jablomi matchup?
I'm going to go ahead and get my pick out of the way and say Team WTF on this one for sure.
You know, I'm gonna have to go with you on that. I just don't see the commissioner pulling it off against the #1 contender. He's barely hanging on to that #4 slot, which again is great news for me being on bye this
Absolutely.
week. Being able to move into that battle.
You, of all people, need the commissioner to lose big on this one.
Absolutely. So again, to WTF, let me put this out there. Get the FaceTime with the players, because the commissioner's going to do it. He's going to be there having those conversations, eating dinner with these players and their wives. You've got to do the same if you want to take that W.
Absolutely, you know, he does. And, you know, WTF, he seems to be just firing on all cylinders right now.
He really is.
From quarterback to kicker. You know, it's hard to pick out a weakness in his team.
It is. You know, outside of the 2 bad weeks he had with some bye weeks and some injuries, he has put up stellar points, some stuff that you just can't prevent. You're going to have bye weeks, you're going to have injuries. But beyond that, this man studies his football. You know, we discussed last week his new soccer roadrunner career, which really gave him an insider's view on that running back position, which he's seen a lot of success out of.
Very, very much so. And then, you know, he's also got his football business, you know, his play calling business, and his, you know, he retired from the refereeing business. So, you know, I just see WTF pulling ahead on this one.
How do you feel this week? Let's talk about your matchup. Let's go into this.
It's multiple scoregasm versus hashtag. You know, that, to be honest with you, I've made some waiver pickups, and I just don't think that my team is going to have what it takes. My team right now, they're just not playing to the best of their potential, And hashtag, he's a worthy opponent for sure.
He really is. I'm going to have to go with Hotshot hashtag as well. I think that he's going to come out with a W. Now, look, in this league, anything's possible. We've seen you come out with some great stellar performances. You're going to need that if you want to at least even compete with him so that you don't end up being the bottom of the barrel discussion. But I do think that hashtag's got the ability, the players, and the know-how to really secure that W this week.
Absolutely. Well, folks, let's get into Game of the Week.
Oh, and what a game it is. Ladies and gentlemen, all of our viewers out there, you need to be focused. We need you watching this matchup. Let's hear about it, Scorgasm.
King of the Coonasses, for the third week in a row, is part of the Game of the Week. The King of the Coonasses versus the Comeback King, or El Rey Remontada.
Yes, yes. You know, El Rey last week would have actually taken Coonasses in that bout. He scored 109 points versus 108 out of Coonasses. You know, El Rey is definitely a competitor in this league. Unfortunately, he suffered a lot of losses early on. He just couldn't get together. But now he's moving in the right direction. We've seen him on a steady slope, moving up, and he wants to get out of that. You know, I've understood from talking to his wife. I know that you were down in a meet earlier this week. Had a conversation with her
Absolutely.
about that trophy. What did she have to say?
Well, the wife wasn't there.
Oh, wow.
We stopped by to do a spot check on the trophy, and the babysitter's boyfriend actually let me and the King of the Coonasses in the house. You know, the King of the Coonasses, he was there for some scout business.
I can imagine.
He's trying to figure out what weapons, you know, the Comeback King's going to be trying to play this week. And I was there strictly platonic to get a picture of the Sanchez.
Hey, we've got to verify it's where it needs to be on that
That's
mantle.
right.
Where it may belong.
Yeah, hopefully. The babysitter's boyfriend let us in the house. Nice kid. You know, a couple of earrings, a few tattoos, but other than that, you know, super good kid. You know, but he let us in the house. We got the picture. You know, got out. So I didn't get a chance to talk with the wife, but I can tell from the last time I saw her that she is definitely anxious to get that trophy out of her house.
And especially with fifth place being able to add something else to the trophy, I know that she wants to get rid of it. But tell me, where are your projections? Who's your prediction? Who do you think is going to take home that W this week?
I think King of the Coonasses is going to take home the W, and it's all going to start with his performance out of Jamal Charles.
I agree. I'm going to have to go the same route. I'm going to have to say that Jamal Charles is definitely going to be Coonasses' workhorse, especially looking into tonight's matchup. We're in Oakland Coliseum. I want to remind everybody that it's been raining all day in Oakland, so we may not see the aerial assault that you see sometimes out of them.
Well, now that you mentioned the rain, the Oakland staff, they did hire some of the staff from south of the border that they also use at Bracey's Nursery.
Oh, great.
So they're going to be able to take good care of that field. It's going to be in tip-top condition.
You know, and being a smaller facility, it's a little bit easier to maintain that facility. You know, we're talking about second smallest in the nation. We're looking at about 55,000 seating, which is also the temperature tonight that we're looking for this great fall football.
Absolutely.
Pretty much no wind.
With the exception of the rain earlier in the week, this is an ideal football night. So, you know, it's going to start in that matchup. You know, King of the Coonasses, his entire tempo is going to be based off of Jamal Charles' start tonight.
Oh, definitely. Don't think these other players on the Coonasses team don't look to him to be that leader. You know, normally you see that in the quarterback role, but not out of Coonasses' squad. No. Jamal Charles puts up steady numbers every week. Let's look at who else is playing tonight. I know we at Beats have Kansas City special teams and defense. I think against a weak front in Oakland, I think we're going to potentially see some fumble. I think we may even see a few punt returns. I'm hoping for big numbers out of them. Last season, they were such a pivotal performance in general. When Moberg had them, he had to get a lot of opportunity with them to take him out of that bottom spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Kansas City was Moberg's saving grace for last season. You know, for those of you who don't know, Moberg finished 5th last season and ahead of Commissioner Jablonski and the Comeback King.
That's right. Well, also I want to talk about hashtags binging of Kelsey. Do you think that's the right move? Do you think that we're going to be trying to get the ball down the field and then push it through the line with Jamal Charles, or do you think that he needs to stay with that Dallas tight end? How are you feeling about this?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not. It's a coin toss either way. To really put it out there, it's a coin toss. You know, a tight end is, as you know, with Jimmy Graham, it can either make you or destroy you.
That's right.
So I think he actually made the right decision.
Okay. Well, tell me, how do you feel about WTF Dwayne Bowe? Do you think this is a sacrificial play, taking these with the commissioner? Is he looking for some kind of break in a fine penalty later on? What's going on?
I think this is collusion. I think it is. You know, I think he's trying to give the I think he's trying to give the commissioner a pity win, if you will.
That's
not the only thing the commissioner gets out of pity. So.
That's right. And this may be a way for WTF just to rub it in that he can beat him starting